All right, so it's the moment we've been waiting for, putting our exposed plumbing faucet on our wall. This is really going to set off the shower. I'm really excited to put this together. And it really should be fairly simple. We've got our ports in here. Should just connect, add a little anchor to the wall, and that really should be it. It should be really simple. So let's go ahead and remove our stops that we had here for testing. And this is one of the reasons I like to use these test plugs that actually are made out of either the brass or the copper, because you know sometimes this grout and everything really gets stuck in there, and if you had a plastic port, you're going to have a hard time getting this out of here. Let's just cut a little bit of this epoxy grout out of here. So that rubber gasket's going to be nice. It'll really seal well against the ports that we put in here. The grout is definitely some strong stuff. Put some Teflon tape on this, and when you do this, you want to rotate this clockwise so it can thread in with the fitting. So like, I don't know, 3 to 4 revolutions. We also got some pipe sealant. So this is just extra insurance to make sure it's sealed. So that's about hand tight right there. Now, if you had this way too far back inside the wall, you could get an adapter. Just get a regular stub out with an adapter that goes to 3/4 inch. But we had planned this to be right where we need it here. Okay, so these escutcheon plates, there's really nothing to them. They're just literally just a sleeve. So this is why it's really important to have those little rubber gaskets behind here, because now everything's sealed behind here. And if you didn't have those rubber gaskets, you can go ahead and put some silicone around this right now to ensure you know, that it's everything sealed. But these literally just thread on here. And this also gives you a lot of extra protection, because if for some reason these were sunken in too far, you can always cut this down a little bit to be able to get this flush. So you have almost like, what, 3/4 inch that you could have possibly cut the back of these escutcheon plates down to make them fit. But they literally just thread on there, and that's really all there is to it. So then these guys have these rubber grommets in here. Make sure that they're in there. Okay, we should be able to test the water at this point. What the hell? It felt pretty tight on there. It's leaking from that one too. Maybe I have to cut this escutcheon plate down a little bit. I guess this is not getting seated properly enough. Everything's revolving on that gasket that this connects to, so if that's not tight against the pipe, then it must not be. I must need more threads than that. Alright, so I'm going to have to go ahead and cut this thing. So before I actually cut these escutcheons, I'm going to go ahead and anchor this all the way down, and just to gauge whether there's something wrong with the faucet. Maybe this isn't lined up properly. Just try them. I don't know which way those handles turn, supposedly. All right, so this is where we need to have our escutcheon plate cut back to. So we basically have a 1/2 inch that this is, because these are gonna have to seat right up against the front of our flange. So 1/2 inch from here to the wall. Right now this is basically 5/8 of an inch, or 3/4 of an inch really. So we need to cut like a 1/4 inch off of this. So go ahead and shut the water off and remove that again. Go ahead and get some silicone. We just might as well just go ahead and do that. Make sure it's sealed here. These gaskets are in there. It's really the only thing that's keeping this from leaking are those gaskets. So I'm gonna make sure that they're make sure nothing leaks there. It should be good. All right, well, at least those escutcheon plates are really nice and wide. Gives you a lot of flexibility. So my tile layer must have been thicker than what I had anticipated. That always seems to be the case. So, all right, now let's go ahead and put just a little O-ring on here. Just make sure that that's seated on there. And this is just gonna thread right in. So we should be right on that center line. Yep. Line up with our marks here. Plug anchor in here. A little bit of silicone on that. Make sure you have that rubber gasket in here. That's what's going to seal this into place. Just bought a new. All right, so one thing, these little set screws to hold this into place have little Phillips heads. So make sure you have one of these, because normally they're Allen keys. I have no idea who would design this to have this, but that's what it is. Okay, simple enough, I guess. All right, again, rubber gasket. You shouldn't need any type of Teflon tape once you have that gasket sealed against there. Okay, handheld unit. Usually the little nut part, make sure that gasket's in there as well. Gasket in there. All right, so let's test this thing out. So this is going to be the mechanism that switches it from the shower faucet to the handheld. Nice. Good flow. Oh wow. Look at that. That's some serious, that's like a torrential downpour. That is a lot of great flow right there. I've installed like $1,000 shower heads that don't get nearly that kind of flow. Unbelievable. And I'm pretty sure if you just go halfway, you can do both at the same time. Yeah. So if you just go halfway on the knob, you can use both at the same time. But my goodness, that is just some tremendous flow right there. That's an excellent shower right there. And then they have the old school turning the knob in to turn off. Biggest thing here though is like all these are, everything's connected with a rubber gasket. So make sure that everything is tight on all parts of this. That's really the only thing that's going to go wrong, is that if you don't have these tightened, they'll end up leaking around the edges and stuff like that. But all in all, this is going to be a really awesome look. Excited to get the shower doors in next and really start being able to take a shower in here.